All right, let's jump right in. We usually think of outsourcing as, a simple way to cut some costs or just hand off a task we don't want to do. But what if we looked at it in a totally different way? What if it wasn't just a transaction, but a process of building a powerful, interconnected system, a strategic chain where every single link is absolutely critical for success? Today, we're going to break down how you move from just hiring a vendor to actually forging a real strategic partnership. So here's how we're going to tackle this. First up, we'll look at the big dreams and, let's be honest, the common nightmares of outsourcing. Then we'll get into the actual blueprint for getting it right. After that, we'll dig into the nuts and bolts of building a seamless chain of partners. And finally, we'll explore what this new kind of partnership really looks like when it's all about creating genuine value. Okay, so let's start with this fundamental tension that sits right at the heart of every outsourcing decision. The massive potential for value on one side, and the very, very real risk of it all going wrong on the other. Now, the promise, and this is even laid out in international standards like ISO 37500, is incredibly tempting. It's not just about saving a few bucks anymore. Strategic outsourcing is about getting access to specialized skills you just don't have in-house. It's about innovating faster, and it can even make your entire business more resilient. It's a really powerful tool for growth. But we've all heard the horror stories, right? Projects that spiral over budget, service quality that just tanks, and relationships that completely fall apart. The promise is so clear, but the path to get there is absolutely littered with traps. So what are they? These aren't really separate issues. They're more like a chain reaction, a domino effect. It almost always starts with a blind focus on cost. That leads you to totally underestimate the real impact on your business. From there, you ignore cultural differences, which of course causes the relationship to break down. And once that relationship is toast, the process you outsourced becomes a total black box. You lose all visibility, and ultimately, you lose control. Okay, enough doom and gloom. Let's pivot to the solution. How do we get from this potential chaos to a place of real control and predictability? Well, the answer is, of course, yes. But it means you have to stop improvising, stop treating each deal as a one-off. You need something way more deliberate, more architectural. You need a blueprint. And this right here is the core idea. Frameworks like the Universal Service Management Method, or USM, give us this concept of a management architecture. Think of it like this. You would never ever build a skyscraper without a detailed architectural plan, right? So why would you try to build a critical piece of your business without one? This architecture defines all the parts, how they connect to each other, and the rules that everyone has to play by. So the really crucial point here is that you don't have to invent this stuff from scratch. A universal standard gives you a set of predefined, compatible building blocks. This means your internal teams and your external partners can build their own management systems using the same basic parts, making sure they can connect and work together flawlessly. This is the foundation for our entire chain. So now that we have the blueprint, let's get practical. How do we actually use it to forge the specific links in our outsourcing chain? First, we have to wrap our heads around a huge shift in mindset. For a long time, outsourcing just meant staff augmentation, basically hiring temporary bodies. You, the client, were still on the hook for the process and the result. The modern approach, managed services, completely flips that. Now, the supplier is responsible for the outcome, for delivering the value. Your focus shifts from managing people's day-to-day effort to managing strategic results. It's a game changer. With this new model, the very first link in our chain is the client's own retained organization. Now, this isn't the whole company. It's a specialized strategic team. Their job isn't to do the work anymore. It's to steer the ship, manage the partnership, and make sure the business goals are actually being met. They are the strategic core. The second link is, of course, the service provider. This is your external partner. But in this model, they're not just some vendor. They are a specialist who owns the execution and is held accountable for delivering the results you agreed on. They're the ones bringing the deep expertise to the table. And that brings us to the third and maybe the most critical link of all, the service integrator. I mean, think about it. In a world with multiple providers, someone has to be the orchestra conductor. The integrator's entire job is to make sure all the different players, your internal teams, your different external partners, are all playing from the same sheet music and creating one harmonious service. They are the glue that holds the whole system together. This quote just nails the mindset that's required. It doesn't matter if a team is internal or external, it has to understand that it is never the whole show. It's one part of a much bigger interconnected network. No single team can succeed on its own. They all depend on each other. So when you combine a strategic retained organization, accountable service providers, and a focused service integrator, all of it built on a common management architecture, you get something truly powerful. You're no longer just managing contracts. You are building a single, unified value chain where every single link is strong, compatible, and pulling in the exact same direction. So what's the ultimate result of all this structural work? Well, it's a complete transformation of the relationship itself. You move beyond the fine print of a contract to a shared focus on creating real, measurable value. Look, the whole point of building this chain is to create a true partnership. It's a structure that is literally designed for collaboration, where success is shared. When the provider helps you win, the provider wins too. That alignment, that's what separates a world-class outsourcing relationship from one that's just transactional. And this absolutely requires a major shift in leadership. As this quote from PwC highlights, the conversation itself has to change. It can't just be about service level agreements and uptime percentages anymore. The leaders of that retained organization have to elevate the discussion to be about how they're directly contributing to the business's bottom line and its competitive edge. And you know what? When you look at what senior business executives actually say they want, it lines up perfectly with this. They want partners, not just providers. They want to focus on value, not just cost. And they are absolutely hungry for innovation that gives them an advantage. This whole structured, chain-based approach is designed to deliver exactly that. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Take a hard look at your own outsourcing relationships. Are you investing the time to actually architect a system, to define the roles, to build a true partnership? Or are you just stuck in a cycle of tactical negotiations, simply managing the terms of a contract? Because the difference between those two is the difference between simply cutting costs and truly building a competitive advantage.